Hello, my name is Mr. AJ Goldsby. I'm a life master from Pensacola, Florida, and the game I wanted to bring you today was a game of Magnus Carlsen's. This was played at the third Grenke Chess Classic, and it enabled, back in February, it enabled Magnus Carlsen to tie for first in this tournament and win the playoff. So without any further ado, we're going to jump right into the game. Magnus Carlsen is white. David Baramidze or Baramidze is black. Baramidze. And the game starts off as a Lopez Spanish game. E4, E5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop b5, a6, bishop a4, knight f6, 5 castles, bishop e7, rook e1, d5, 7 bishop b3, d6, c3, black castles, h3, knight b8. So far, this is all standard book. This is a line known as the Breyer or Breyer system. I believe you say Breyer, but it may be Breyer. But either way, this is a standard line of the Spanish game, the Lopez or Lopez. This line used to be a favorite of, for those old enough to remember, is a favorite of Boris Spassky, the world champion of the 1960s. He loved to play this line as black. D4, knight bd7, knight bd2, bishop b7, bishop c2, rook e8, knight f1, bishop f8, knight g3, g6, a4, bishop g7, bishop d3, c6, bishop g5, knight f8, queen d2, knight e6. Again, this is all book. This is all in the books, and this is the end of the power book line. So here we could call the position pretty much dead equal, and that's what it is. And now both players kind of begin probing. Things are situated for a pretty interesting middle game. Bishop h6, knight d7, bishop c2, bishop takes h6, queen takes h6, queen f6, rad1, rad8. Again, it's an admirable position. It's extremely well balanced. It's a good example of centralization by both players. Now the engines all like white to play knight e2 here, then slowly develop his game. Carlsen decides to go a different route. He decides to force matters with d5. So d5. I'm just going to scroll down here a little bit so I can read my own notes and also stay with the game. That's the move is 23 d5. C takes d5. E takes d5. Queen f4, knight f4, knight takes f4, knight e4, bishop takes d5, a takes b5, a takes b5. And so far the game is well within limits. I mean, the position again is dead equal. Now Carlsen plays an interesting move. The move here that the engines want to play is g3. And again, if you want to test that, you can fire up. I have Deep Fritz or Houdini, Stockfish, Ribka, one of those engines. But the move that all the engines here want to play is g3. But Carlsen plays a slightly different move. He plays knight d6. So knight takes d6. It's a very tricky move, and it's very hard for black to find the best line because he has to be extremely accurate at every phase here. So anyway, black plays rook e6. That was a very bad move, either question mark or at least a dubious. I gave it a dubious move because I think there were still chances for black to save the game, but it certainly put black in a lot of trouble. There was a very simple line here that gave black equality, and that was just simply bishop takes f3, g takes f3, bishop e7, king h2, rook b8, b4, king g7, and that would have given black clear equality. I mean, it's black may even be a few thousandths of a point better there. But anyway, in this position, this is the position white played 28, knight takes d6. We're looking now at the actual game and not the analysis. And Carlsen's opponent, he played rook e6, which is an inferior move here. I'm not sure what black was thinking here, but the rook gets out of play on the third rank and is stuck on a bad square. So there was a lot of different reasons why that was not a good move. Knight e4, exclam. Black plays f5. A lot of the engines like to play knight b6 here, and I think black could have still held the game, but his opponent plays f5. It's not a terrible move. Knight f at g5 on move 30. Rook e7, g3 exclam, kicking the knight. And now bishop takes e4. Bishop takes e4 is okay, and it looks okay to me. But again, the engine's like f takes e4 here for for black to play. And don't ask me what the difference between those two moves are. You'd have to take out an engine and just analyze very deeply. I'm not going to do that, especially for the video. Now, I will have a web page on this game. So if you have any questions about the game, definitely consult the web page, because the web page is going to be more in depth and have much more analysis and a lot more commentary. But anyway, here after 31 G3, black plays bishop takes E4 on move 31. 32, bishop takes E4, F takes E4, G takes A4, F4, and now black plays rook F8. Perhaps another imprecise move. Again, the engines like the move E takes F4 here, but black played rook F8 here. So far, black's only made one really less than, a move that was a lot less than best, that could either be labeled a dubious or a question mark. So far, black hasn't been playing too bad. And now knight takes E4, but white's clearly going to be better here in a minute. Rook takes F4, B4. I give that move an exclam. I like that move a lot. The engines like the move rook D5 there, but there's a big difference between engine chess and human chess. Sometimes the best move is just the best move, like in a forced tactical sequence. But a lot of times when you're, human chess and engine chess are just two different things. The engines often will find lines and tactics that a human would never even, much consider or look at, much less play. And here B4 is a good move on a practical aspect, because the idea is simply to freeze the pawn on B5 and fix it as a target, and that's an easy way for a human to play. And now black makes another very inaccurate move here. Black plays the move 35, knight F6. And, again, and this goes along with the principle that I teach a lot of my students. Generally, when you're black, when you're down material or defending an inferior position, most of the time you have to avoid exchanges. That's, say, the large majority of the time, and I found that to be true a great deal of the time. Here, black plays knight F6, and the correct move, according to the engines here, just let me scroll down here, was knight B6, leading to this line here. Knight D6, rook D8 check, rook F8. Rook takes F8, king takes F8, knight to D6. And white has a solid edge, although, it's plus over and equals, or even plus over a line. But proving the exact win, I spent many days with this position and with the engines, and I never found a clear path, an easy path for white to win. I mean, it's very, very long and very, very torturous, and it's not even clear that, with best play by both sides, engine play by both sides, that white can indeed win that position. So anyway, black here played another inferior move here. He played knight F6 here, and that was bad. Now Carlsen could have exchanged here, but exchanging on F6 was very bad, because that might have allowed black some significant and very real drawing chances. Carlsen plays a good move here. He plays knight D6. And to me, it's just kind of a little of a revelation how easily and how quickly Carlsen handles these positions. I mean, once in a while he messes up because he's human, but most of the time Carlsen is always finding the right move at the right time, and it's his opponents who are the ones who are always seeming to make the misplay. So anyway, knight D6, rook F3, knight takes B5, rook takes H3. Now we have material equality again, but here's the huge problem. Okay, it's material equality. Both sides have 3 pawns, 2 rooks, and a knight each. So the material is equal, but the position itself is not equal. In fact, it's very simple in a tournament game to play the white side. If you wanted to do nothing else, you could put a rook at B1, put a rook at C1, and just ram your pawns up the board, and probably would win without too many problems. I mean, it's very hard to play black. And so, in fact, I think the position is now pretty much a forced win for white. So this is the problem with black's earlier play, why some of the various choices he made at the various pathways, the various junctures, were a lot less than best. And this has resulted in this position. And now this position, even though it is, again, the material balances has not been adversely affected, the actual position is basically, I believe, one that is lost for black, or at least one that's extremely difficult to play. But anyway, the game goes on. White plays 38 C4, and now black makes a bad mistake. He plays a really bad move here. He plays rook H4, and that was really bad. I mean, that's just a flat-out question mark. And after that move, I don't think black ever has a chance to get back into the game and draw the game. The correct line for black was the line found with the computer, and it's goes along with another principle, is that in endgames you're taught, every beginner is taught this rule, or any student of the game should know that you try to get your rook behind past pawns. Rook b3, knight d4. Again, these are all engine moves. Rook b2, b5, rook c7, knight c6, e4, rook d6. And white's probably clearly better, if not just flat out winning. And it's not clear where the forced win is, but it is very clear that white is much, much better, if not just flat out winning. So anyway, that was the line that could have been played there. But again, going back to the actual game, white played c4, and black played rook h4 there on move 38. Again, that was a mistake. The rook gets badly out of play, and the simple fact is that, you know, that it's too easy now to play white. I don't think black can save the game after that move. Knight d6, knight h5. That was another bad move here. The engines find rook g4 and knight e8, which was probably a much better line. In fact, again, black may have put up significantly tougher defense with that line. But anyway, knight h5, b5, knight f4, b6, rook g4 check, king f1, rook h4, f3, exclam, rook h1, king f2. Obviously, going back here a minute here, I mean, this is obviously a point where a grandmaster is not going to make a mistake, but a lower rated player might just miss the fact that the king is cut off on e2, the king is cut off on g2 by the black knight on f4, and white's threatening simply rook h1, you know, checkmate. You know, a player that wasn't looking at his own king might get excited and put a rook behind the pawn, or even shove one of his own pawns thinking he was winning and get mated in one move. So that's why f3 here was forced. That's for the lower rated players there. You always have to worry about your king safety. Rook h1 check, king f2, rook h2 check, king g1, rook c2, and now king h1. King h1 was not an engine move, and I only point this out because there seems to be a persistent small group of people, very small group of people, but they're very persistent, and they seem to be alleging that, you know, Carlsen is somehow playing chess by remote control, that his chess is so good that some people seem to think that he might be using an engine while he's playing. This is just silly. I know that's not true. The correct engine move here is just simply rook e3. That was the move all the engines choose. So that just shows you that Carlsen is not using an engine, but he plays king h1 there. Knight h3, knight e4, exclam. That keeps the knight out of f2. Rook takes c4. Again, another move that was probably a little less than best. Maybe rook b7 was a little bit better there for black instead of rook takes c4. But anyway, black played 47, rook takes c4. White went rook d8 check, king g7, rook b1. And here black actually resigned because it's very obvious, you know, again, and here's another principle at work. Rooks belong behind past pawns. After rook b1, black basically can't stop, you know, jamming his pawn in. If he plays rook b7, there's knight d6 forking two rooks, so the game is pretty much over. But anyway, that pretty much concludes the game there. You know, that concludes my coverage of this game. Again, I will have a web page on this game. When the web page is posted, you know, I will put a link in the little box below the video that says show more, and that will take you to the actual you know, web page for this game, where I analyze this game in a great amount of detail. There'll also be a number of diagrams, and also too there will be a free PDF copy of my analysis that you can download if you want to go over the game for free. And this concludes my coverage of the game Carlsen Baramidze, or Baramidze, and this was from, again, the 3rd Grenke Chess Classic, and it was played, I believe, on the 7th of February 2015. And that concludes my video. If you like my videos and you like my web pages and you'd like to support my efforts, please be sure to go to the PayPal website. That's www.paypal.com, and make a contribution there under my email account, which is LifeMasterAJ@yahoo.com. Thank you for watching my video, and have a great day.